"You've got to be kidding me," Danielle murmured to herself as she stared at the dilapidated mansion looming before her. She'd been out of the city for a week now, searching for the perfect spot for her new bed and breakfast, and this was the final contender. It was either this creepy relic or back to the grind of urban life. The real estate agent, a man with a smile too wide for his face, claimed the house had charm. Danielle saw it more as haunted. The door creaked open, and a cold gust of wind swept through the grand foyer. Danielle stepped inside, her heart racing. The air was thick with the scent of dust and something else, something ancient and sad. As she moved from room to room, she heard faint whispers, lovers' secrets, long-forgotten arguments, echoes of past lives. It was in the library where she first saw him. The ghostly figure of a man in a tattered suit, his eyes hollow and filled with rage. His name, she'd later learned from the town's historian, was Charles. Charles had built this house for his beloved bride Evelyn, a place to escape the prying eyes of their judgmental families. But love had not been enough to keep them together. Jealousy and anger had driven them apart, and the house had become a prison of bitterness and resentment. Evelyn's ghost, however, was a different story. Her spirit danced through the corridors with the grace of a ballerina, leaving trails of sweet perfume and the soft tinkle of laughter. Her eyes held a warmth that seemed to light the very shadows themselves. Danielle felt an immediate kinship with her. They were both outsiders, seeking refuge in this monolith of the past. The love story began when Danielle found a hidden compartment in the library wall. Inside was a stack of yellowed letters, written by Evelyn to her long-lost love. They spoke of a love so pure it could conquer even the darkest of spirits. Inspired by the passion in those letters, Danielle decided to restore the house to its former glory, hoping that by doing so, she could somehow mend the hearts of the two lost souls. But as the weeks turned to months, the renovation brought more than just dust to the surface. The whispers grew louder, the shadows longer. The house was a battleground for the love and hate that lingered within its walls. At night, Danielle would lie in her makeshift bed, listening to the phantom footsteps of Charles pacing above her while the gentle whispers of Evelyn's ghost comforted her. One stormy evening, as Danielle sat in the library reading the final letter, the door slammed shut, and the lights flickered. The air grew colder, and she knew Charles had found her. He hovered above her, his rage palpable. "You're just like her," he snarled, meddling in what doesn't concern you. Danielle stood, her heart racing, and faced the specter. "I'm not like anyone," she replied firmly. "I just want to help you find peace." The house trembled with his fury. Books flew off shelves, and the chandelier swung precariously above their heads. "Peace," he spat. "There is no peace for me until she admits her betrayal." "What betrayal?" Danielle asked, her voice steady despite her fear. The room grew colder still, and the whispers grew to a cacophony. "The child," he hissed, his eyes burning with a malevolent light. "The child she claimed was mine, but was born of another seed." Evelyn's ghost appeared beside Danielle, a sad smile on her lips. "It's not true," she whispered. "The child was ours, conceived in love." But fear and doubt consumed him. He couldn't accept the truth. The love and hate intertwined, their echoes clashing in the air around them. Danielle felt a strange power surging through her. With trembling hands, she reached out to Charles. "Let it go," she urged. "You're both trapped here by your own anger. Only the truth can set you free." The ghosts stared at one another, their pain a tangible force in the room. For a moment, it seemed as though the house itself was holding its breath. Then, with a deafening crack, the floorboards gave way, swallowing the three of them into the cold embrace of the basement. The room was damp and musty, filled with the stench of decay. In the corner lay a tiny skeleton, swaddled in a blanket that had long ago turned to dust. Danielle's eyes widened with horror as the truth dawned on her. Evelyn wept beside her, her spectral form shaking with sobs. "It was an accident," she confessed. "A terrible, terrible accident. I never meant to hurt him." The room grew colder still, and Danielle could feel the weight of Charles' anger pressing down on her. "You see," he said, his voice a chilling whisper, "she lied to me. She killed our child and buried him here." With a scream that pierced the very fabric of the house, Evelyn threw herself at Charles. "You didn't want to see," she shrieked. "You didn't want to believe it was your fault." Their forms entwined in a macabre dance of rage and despair, the very walls of the house seeming to bleed with their torment. Danielle knew she had to get out before the building collapsed around her. She stumbled through the darkness, desperately searching for a way out. Her hand brushed against something cold and hard, the handle of a shovel. With a strength she didn't know she had, she swung it at the ghosts, the metal connecting with a sickening thud. The spirits recoiled, their forms fading before her eyes. The house grew quiet once more, the whispers silenced. Danielle climbed back upstairs, her body trembling with fear and exhaustion. The house had claimed her, just as it had claimed them. In the quiet of the library, she placed the last letter in the fireplace and watched it burn. The flames licked at the paper, consuming the words of love and betrayal. As the fire grew, the walls of the house groaned, as if in protest. The house was never meant to be a prison, she realized. It was a tomb for love and hate. And now, it was her tomb too. The final embers of the fire died out, and the room grew cold. Danielle felt a hand on her shoulder, and she knew it wasn't her own. The ghosts of Charles and Evelyn had found their peace, but she was forever trapped in the haunted house, a prisoner of their dark legacy. The door to the library clicked shut, and the house was plunged into darkness. The whispers began anew, but this time, they weren't just echoes of the past. They were her own, forever joining the chorus of the damned.